Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into the magical, and maybe not so magical world of Disney remakes. Specifically, we're talking about Snow White. Yes, the one with the poisoned apple, 7 dudes living in a cottage, and the fairest of them all drama. But here's the twist. I'm not here to crown Snow White as the sweetest princess. Nope, I'm here to argue that Snow White might just be Disney's most villainous remake yet. Shocking, right? But trust me, once you see the evidence, you'll be side-eyeing that shiny red apple too. Number 1, a fairy tale that started it all. So let's rewind. The original Snow White and the 7 Dwarfs from 1937 was the first ever full-length animated feature film. Disney risked everything on it. People even called it Disney's folly, because who on earth would sit through a 90-minute cartoon back then? Spoiler alert, everyone did. It became a classic, and Snow White herself was the definition of innocent, kind, and almost too perfect. She sings, she cleans, she talks to birdseas. Basically the blueprint for every early Disney princess. But then fast forward nearly a century later, Disney decided, hey, let's remake this legend in live action. And that's where things get villainous. Number 2, the villain is not who you think. Now, in the original story, the evil queen is, well, evil. She's jealous, power-hungry, and casually hands out poisoned fruit. Classic villain stuff. But in the remake, the line between hero and villain gets blurry. Suddenly, Snow White isn't just the innocent girl running from a witch. Nope, she's being rewritten as this rebellious, independent future leader type. Nothing wrong with that, except when the shift makes her less of a character and more of a lecture. And here's the plot twist. The remake itself is acting more villainous than the evil queen. Why? Because instead of just giving us an updated fairy tale, it feels like the remake is stealing from the original's magic. Like the queen, it looks in the mirror and says, "Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the most relevant of them all?" And then it answers, "Not the old Snow White, but me." That's some villain energy right there. Number 3, apples don't fall far from the tree. Let's talk about the apple, Disney's favorite metaphor. In the old movie, it's literally poisoned. But in the remake, the apple is symbolic. It represents nostalgia. The remake takes a bite out of it, saying, don't worry, this is the same story you love. But then, boom, it's poisoned with modern rewrites, missing dwarfs, questionable tone changes, and a script that sometimes sounds like it came straight from Twitter. Instead of being enchanted, you feel tricked. Like the audience spit the apple, expecting sweetness, and got the villain's brew. So, in a way, Disney is playing the evil queen role here. It tempts us with shiny marketing, beautiful visuals, and promises of faithful, but fresh. And then Baymore childhood memories collapse faster than snow. White after snack time? Number 4, who's the real victim? Now, here's where it gets juicy. The dwarf says those 7 hardworking, quirky roommates got completely changed in the remake. Some cut, some altered, some reimagined. Fans were like, wait, so it's not even Snow White and the 7 Dwarfs anymore? That's like making Finding Nemo without the fish. And Snow White herself. She's written as not waiting for a prince. Great message, sure, but the problem is, it's delivered in a way that throws the old version under the bus. Instead of celebrating growth, the remake almost feels like it's mocking what made the original beloved in the first place. So, who's the victim here? The characters? The fans? Or maybe the original movie itself? Imagine creating the most iconic fairy tale in history, only for your future self to come back and roast you for being outdated. That's savage. That's villain behavior. Number 5, Villainous Marketing. And we can't ignore the marketing. Disney hyped this remake as bold, groundbreaking, the fairy tale reimagined, but if you watched the trailers, you could practically hear audiences whisper, wait, what happened to my childhood? The evil queen in the old film wanted to destroy Snow White's beauty. But this remake, it kind of wants to destroy the old Snow White's legacy. And honestly, that's way more evil than handing out apples. Because here's the thing, villains don't always show up in cloaks and thunder. Sometimes, they show up in billion-dollar studios with glossy posters. Number 6, why it matters? Now, you might be thinking, it's just a movie. Relax. And sure, true. But stories like Snow White are cultural landmarks. They shape childhoods, inspire art, and live in our imaginations forever. When a remake tramples over that, it's not just bad cinema, it feels like a betrayal. And betrayal, my friends, is the most villainous act of all. Conclusion: poison in the legacy. So here we are at the end of this poison apple journey, and the more I think about it, the more I realize that calling Snow White's remake villainous isn't just a spicy YouTube title, it might actually be the most accurate description. Because think about villains for a second. They never see themselves as villains, right? The evil queen doesn't wake up in the morning and say, "Good morning, I'm evil, time to ruin lives." She says, "I deserve to be the fairest in the land. I'm doing what's necessary. I'm just misunderstood." And in a way, Disney's remake feels the same. The studio isn't cackling in a dungeon saying, "Muahaha, let's destroy childhoods today." No, they're saying, "We're modernizing. We're reimagining. We're doing what's necessary to stay relevant." But just like the queen, the intention doesn't erase the damage. Thanks for watching. Subscribe.